Golden State Media Concepts Technology Podcast covers everything tech. The hottest mobile phones, tablets, games. We review it, rate it, test it. Whether you're Microsoft or Apple, Android or iPhone, we'll give it to you again. Black and white. The Golden State Media Concepts Technology Podcast.
Welcome into the GSMC Technology Podcast. I am your host, Tom Doherty. Today in technology news, we are going to go over a couple new things, some nuances in the technology world. In the news today, we have a IPO coming out from Spotify. We have new stores where you don't even have to use a cashier. You can just scan your items with an app, and as you walk out the door, they'll charge your on-file credit card or debit card with your bank. You have more companies trying to copy that. I mean, that's an Amazon thing right there with those Amazon Go stores. We'll get into that very soon. And more stores trying to get into that as well, especially Apple. Speaking of Apple, they have come out with a new iPad that is going to be marketed to more of the youth market, to go towards students, to be used for school. I know iPads can be seen as more expensive. This one, I believe, will be marketed as at a smaller price. Coming with that, we're going to be pushed to be sold with that Apple Pencil to be used for education purposes, make new projects, where you can make a presentation or something like that with the pencil right there in your hand in order to make some great presentation tools for your in the classroom coming up. I mean, that definitely is going to be a revolutionary item in the education world if we're going to have kids using iPads to create PowerPoints and different presentations for their classes. Going to make it a lot more user-friendly, a lot more entertainment based, where these kids are going to have a lot more fun creating stuff, whether they're filming things or making different charts and different little movies regarding their projects and stuff like that. So we'll get into that, and that's going to be our second segment today. In the third segment, we're going to go over the news that has come out over Uber and Tesla with their driverless cars and the different issues they've had with that. There's been video coming out over the recent crashes they've had, and then also the reports saying that there was a way to stop this due to some human intervention that actually did not happen, whether it was instructed that they just let what happened happen, or they just were not able to intervene in time in order to save the car from crashing. And then obviously, like I mentioned before, we have that Spotify IPO coming up, and it's going to be a big deal because Spotify, the company that revolutionized music, it's had a lot of artists not decide to put their music on Spotify originally, saying they weren't being paid enough, not enough of that user share is coming over back to the artists themselves, where they're having their songs played millions and millions of times and not getting any sort of payday out of that, or something that where it's quite small compared to when you sell CDs, or even on the iTunes store they're getting more, maybe a bigger share. So that's our overview for today. We're going to go into our first segment now, talking about the Amazon Go stores and the news that you have an issue coming up in the retail market. If you are, for those who are cashiers or restaurant grocers, there's going to be a new age coming pretty soon here. Obviously, we have already seen a lot of changes in the technology with new technologies coming out, with the fact that you can now order your food with your Alexa app or your Amazon, your Whole Foods app. I know Whole Foods and Amazon are now together. They have been Whole Foods was acquired by Amazon a few months ago, and now you can put in your desired groceries into your fresh basket on your smartphone, and it'll be ready to go for you when you get there. Now you can just go to the store if you feel like going to the store still, rather than ordering your food on your phone. You can just pick out what you want, scan it with your phone, because now all your phones, most smartphones now have these QR scanners where you can just, or even barcode scanners within the app. So now you can take, if you have the Amazon app on your phone, you can go into any store and basically scan that barcode to see if you could find that item on Amazon. That's already existing, but now they're trying to do it, take that same technology and apply it to more of a retail-based scheme where you're going to be scanning different items within the store and then just walking out. When you decide you want to buy them, you'll hit checkout on your phone and you'll walk right out, or there'll be sensors near the front door. Whatever items you have with you will be automatically charged to the credit card you have on file in your phone. So it's going to become cashless. It's going to become kind of personless, which is definitely up for debate, because there are certainly some people out there who enjoy their daily or weekly trip to the supermarket. They have a person-to-person contact. You can talk to your favorite cashier or go say hi to your friend who works there or something like that. To now, you have people in the cities where their problems are speed and the problems are the line length and the fact that you have to sit there and wait to buy a bag of popcorn or something like that. And now you don't have to do that. Amazon's definitely changing that game where you're going to just be grabbing what you want and going. I mean, there's obviously some sort of a consequence to this whole deal. I've read reports recently saying that when this all rolls out, I know we have Amazon that's going to be leading the market in this. Amazon going to be dragging Whole Foods with them. So that's why I'm talking about supermarkets and grocery stores, because Whole Foods is going to become one of the bigger grocery store as it becomes more affordable. Obviously, now we kind of see it as like that higher end store where things are quite expensive and you're not going to find your more basic products at the right prices. Now, Amazon, since they have that ability to kind of price match things and they want to get things down to a certain level with maybe even the Targets and the Walmarts, that you're going to see things at Whole Foods that are going to be a little more affordable, a little more reasonable, and then now you're going to be able to just scan them with your phone, like I said before, and walk right out of the store. I know we had our first Amazon Go store go live. It's a brick and mortar store, so I mean, you can walk right in, but the whole point of it was to eliminate lines. That was the idea. So they announced one, I believe it was in Seattle, where they first had that store go out, and there was a line around the building just to go into the store to buy food and then not have a line when you leave. It was just kind of an oxymoron there. But I mean, it can be expected when you get things that are brand new. People like new things, of course. We all like new things, and when it's the new hot thing to do is go down to your local Amazon Go store and get your lunch for the day, and not having to check out at a checkout stand. I mean, I know I like the self-checkers we have now. I mean, where you just go and you can scan it yourself. It makes me like going in and scanning my own food. But now you don't have to do that. You can scan it as you walk through the store. And even if there's a line, say, nope, I'm already done. I already paid for it. I'm leaving. Goodbye. So there's a new story in the New York Times coming out whenever I said before, we have Amazon leading the way in this whole Amazon, automated store market part of technology going into your market now with the supermarkets and other stuff like that. We have the retailers race against Amazon to automate stores. So in Seattle, we obviously saw that experimental store. Now we're going to have people like Amazon probably going to be adding this across the country and then also overseas. In China especially, which already has ambitious e-commerce companies like Alibaba, they're probably going to start copying them as well, as we see people starting to clamor for this speed shopping. Definitely something you got to pay attention to if you're looking to get a job as a cashier. Maybe can reconsider. Obviously, we're going to still need people to automate to stock those shelves. Maybe they're going to automate that as much. Yeah, look at that. Companies are testing robots that will help keep shelves stocked. So I mean, whether it's I don't know how these robots, I mean, technology, man, they're just getting more and more efficient. It's becoming more and more cheaper. You don't have to pay insurance for a robot. You don't have to pay benefits for a robot. I mean, that's the thing here. These employers are deciding that they are going to take it into their own hands and not allow these their employees to dictate their needs. I mean, they're going to start just eliminating these positions and making these employees having to go either get more skilled jobs, that's the whole idea here. I mean, if you ever watched Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, his dad got fired because they got a machine to twist those caps on top of the toothpaste. However, his dad got rehired because they needed somebody to fix the machine that is doing that job now. So, I mean, it's going to be a big uptick in the hiring of engineers and technicians while we go down with those lower skilled jobs regarding retail in the retail world here. So, I mean, yeah, it's motivated to save labor and minimize shoppers' frustrations while waiting for cashiers. They're and these obviously these other retailers are trying to prevent Amazon from dominating the physical retail world as it already does online. And that is from the New York Times, as they just came out with a big article a couple of days ago talking about how these new convenience shops are going to be the new rage in the technological world. I mean, we had an analysis, like I said there, that you're going to see that job rate, that 50% of the world's retail jobs, 30 to 50% of the world's retail jobs could be at risk once technologies like animated fully checkout are fully embraced. That is from the analysis last year from the World Economic Forum. So technology, it's changing the world. It's making its waves. I mean, obviously we have to make the decision whether we're going to let it do that. We're going to adopt it well enough. I mean, I've already seen it like movie theaters where now you don't even have to go up to the ticket counter. You can just buy your tickets on a screen right there. Scan your phone if you already bought them on your phone, or just swipe your credit card right then and there. I mean, that's the thing. It's these kind of things with technology it's going all cashless. It's going hand in hand with this technological world where we're having less cash, more credit cards, more debit cards, transactions. People are buying things on their phone. They're pre-ordering things on their phone. They're getting tomorrow I'm going to a baseball game in San Francisco. I have my ticket already on my phone. I paid for it on the phone with an app, and I'm going to be having my phone scanned tomorrow, and that's about it. There's no paper, nothing. It's all paperless, which is, great for the environment and all. But we're getting to a point here where people are going to start having their jobs in jeopardy and their livelihoods maybe, and have to make a shift in their life choices here because technology is going to be taking over in the near future. So going further into this Amazon Go stores, an Amazon spokesman declined to comment about the expansion plans, but the company has a job posting for senior retail estate manager. So, there are going to be jobs, like I said. It's not really a job cancellation. In that specific market, there's going to be a job cancellation. The retail jobs are going to be going away, but there are going to be shifting in the labor pool, basically. There's going to be a big shift in the fact that you're going to see a lot of people going over to the management of the retail spaces, going to be in the, like I said, the engineering part of it when it comes to having to, whether building these machines or maintaining these machines. The thing is with technology, it's really hard to make a perfect machine, and there's always going to be somebody needed to fix any bugs, or if something is to break down. Imagine if you were at an Amazon Go store and all of a sudden you can't shop there at all because the app isn't working, or the scanning tracking system is not working because for whatever reason there's a bug in the system or something's not going correctly. There has to be somebody to be able to fix that. So we're going to be seeing a lot more stuff shifting and kind of going in a new direction. So Amazon, regarding new expansion, they're going to have the job posting for a senior retail estate manager who will be responsible for site selection and acquisition. So for those in the real estate game, this is going to be a good idea for the good ideal situation for them, as Amazon's going to be looking for new and high demand potential locations for these Go stores. Whether they're going to be looking just more in the city, high metropolitan area, or if they're even going to try and expand out to the suburbs and the neighborhoods here. wherever they are going to be. I know they're in Seattle, like I said before, probably going to be seeing somewhere in San Francisco, likely New York, Houston, LA, Miami, possibly Chicago, all those big cities, of course, to start with. You want to go where the people are to at least start off your run here with a new idea. So obviously there's going to be a lot of stuff going on here as I keep reading into this idea of these Go stores. Obviously it's going to take a lot of technology. So reading here, it says, by the opening of the Amazon Go in January was alarming for many retailers who saw a sudden willingness for Amazon by wielding its technology power in new ways. Not only do they have these trackers as you walk outside the doors to check what you have, they have cameras in the ceiling that also can tally the amount of food that has been pulled off the shelves. It can, for example, cookies, chips, soda that shoppers remove and put in their bags, then they'll be charged as they walk out the door. So this is a new idea which has been probably developed by Jeff Bezos over a long time. He's the CEO of Amazon, if you didn't know, but he's definitely a forward thinker, the Bill Gates of our time. So it's going to be interesting to see as he moves from that online retail market to the brick and mortar in-store retail market where people are still going to be going out and buying stuff. Obviously, you can order your food online if you'd like and have it even delivered to your house. But if you still feel like going out to the market and experiencing the fresh air of your city, wherever you are, however, you don't like waiting in line, Jeff Bezos has got you there, where he's got you with his Amazon Go stores. That's going to wrap it up for this first segment. Next segment, we're going to be talking about the new Apple iPad. Apple just came out with a new iPad. I saw the really interesting ad for it. It was these kids that are going to be making a really introspective science project, and they're using all iPad technology to be filming and creating different models and graphs regarding their science project, and then they come into the classroom and then use the iPad to present their findings. So it's actually pretty cool how integrated the iPad is and how you're able to use it for everything with that Apple Pencil. And then we'll see what on that. I'll be reporting on how they could lower that price level and that price model to make it more affordable for everyone. All right, we'll be right back.
The average sedan is built with a steel frame and equipped with 6 airbags. Remember this the next time you see someone walking. Drivers, be aware. Pedestrians don't have armor. A message from the California Office of Traffic Safety. The average SUV has 2 blind spots, weighs between 4,000 and 6,000 pounds, and takes about 6 seconds to stop. Remember this the next time you're on foot. Pay attention, people. Pedestrians don't have armor. A message from the California Office of Traffic Safety.
Welcome back to the GSMC Technology Podcast. I'm your host, Tom Doherty. Last segment, we talked about the Amazon Go stores and how they're going to be changing how you think about shopping on the daily basis, whether it's going to be quicker or it's going to change your life, whether you don't like talking to your local cashier or whatever. But we know that it's going to eliminate those lines, and you're just going to be picking up what you want out of the stores and grabbing it and taking it out. We'll see how it gets with the whole foolproof of people are going to be able to hack the system or deters more shoplifting or takes a jump in shoplifting. We'll see how that is. I'm sure there's definitely some safeguards in there regarding the fact that it's going to be member-based as well, because they're going to have all of your information even just from entering the store, because you have to have an account with Amazon in order to even walk into the store and buy anything, or else it would just make no sense because you couldn't pay for anything anyways. So this segment, we're going over the new iPad release. It's going to be cheaper. It's going to be more marketed to to more students and to more education based. I believe it's going to be it's going to be the best tablet under $500. So yeah, that's the whole deal. It's going to be cheaper. So I mean, we usually see the iPads. If you're going to get a mini, I have an iPad. I'm using an iPad Mini 4 right now. Actually, I believe it was $500 on the dot exactly with with the warranty and everything from Target, if I'm not mistaken here. So now you can get a this isn't, and then now that's just for the mini. For the regular iPads, they were more at the $600 to $700 level for the normal sized ones, the first size that ever came out. I think those ones are like the 8.9 inch, I think. So now they're going to be marketing those down. Yeah, 9.7 inch. 9.7 inch. I was about an inch off there. So they're going to be marketing those to schools, where schools are going to be purchasing these probably in a bigger bulk batch, and they're going to be letting their students use these versus having these big honky computers. I remember when I was back in elementary school and middle school, even high school, we had big honky computers with big monitors and everything, and it was not just, but it was interesting. We were used to it. I mean, it wasn't as interesting as it could be, but it was interesting because we were used to it as those kids growing up. Now we have all these kids that were grown up having a tablet or a big phone in their hand since they were little kids, since they're little toddlers, and now they're going to be able to be using these things, and they're probably already experts in how these user faces work already, and then whatever apps they are able to get in order to create presentations, do calculations, write essays. I mean, I have had my iPad for a year or two now, actually, and I think I even got rid of my laptop last year because I just use my iPad as a laptop. I don't do much computing on my device here. I just kind of used it for more essays and just writing my blog and everything. So I have a wireless keyboard. It hooks right up to my iPad, and I just type away, and I haven't had any issues there. So regarding this iPad, it's going to be the best, like I said, the Verge.com best tablet under $500. They're going to be lowering this price. So yeah, lower price point. It's going to be sold at $329. A bunch of new great technology in it. Obviously, I believe it's going to be coming preloaded with either iOS 11 or iOS 12 for iPad, for the iPad there. So I mean, I love Apple. I'm going to be always a pro Apple fan. You'll probably hear me talking more about Apple on the show to begin with. But so it's going to definitely be more affordable. We'll see how they want to market that pencil. The pencil's always been a item where you have to pay for it separately. It's a $99 edition on there, but I mean, it's a pretty interesting for when it comes to it's not your normal stylus. It all has lots of different technology in there as well. So this is definitely a company that is going to be trying to compete with Amazon, like we talked about before, with the whole cashierless stores and the stores where you can just walk out with paying for it on your phone. Apple's going to be trying to do that too. You already kind of see the fact that if you go walk into an Apple store now, they have a Genius bar and a bunch of people with blue shirts holding the handheld devices. They don't have cashiers anymore. They haven't had cashiers in, I believe, a few years. So this is going to definitely be something that they're going to want to change, as well as they're going to try and move into a new age where they're going to be marketing to kind of everybody versus having that thing, that stigma they've kind of had around them the whole time, which is that Apple Premium idea, where, I mean, the fact that you have to pay the Apple Premium to get what you want, where you didn't pay $1,000 for a laptop or $700 for a tablet, versus when you can go over to the Samsung store and buy a Samsung tab for $150, $300. I mean, now that's what you're going to get. You're going to get the Apple technology, which has always, in my book, been superior because of it's just easier to use, it's more streamlined, and it's just the apps are much more clean, and you're going to be able to get it at that same price, or almost close to the same price point there. So last year, I mean, they did have a big praise for the packing a bunch of technology. They got it into that $329 price point. I think that's maybe even for the mini now, they're going to go for that bigger one, the 8.9 inch iPad that's usually been sold around the $600 to $800 level. I know you can even get the bigger ones depending on how much memory storage you want to get in there. So that's what look at this. The tagline for this whole article was Apple's bare minimum still beats everyone else. So even when Apple drops down to the bare minimum and tries to, maybe they're going to take a little loss or not make as much money as they would like to make, they're still going to beat everybody else, because that's just how good their technology is over there, as they also open up their new headquarters in Cupertino, which looks like a spaceship. I mean, I've seen it actually. I've flown over it, where you see it. You can even see it from the outside of my window of my plane. It looks just a big halo in the middle of the Cupertino suburbs, where you're going to have this just big park in the middle of it. It's just a big building that's a big circle. It actually looks pretty cool. But regarding this iPad, it's going to have more space. It's going to have more technology. They're going to have more ability to have a presentation based out of it. So, I mean, they're trying to compete with the new Google tablets, the Chrome OS tablet from Google. I mean, you might know it does not speak. It doesn't. Yeah, Google had its one time when they paired up with Android. I mean, Google and Android have always been together. So they have those Samsung Android tablets that they haven't gotten the higher marks. They've never been as popular as iPad. I actually got one way back in high school when I won one at some raffle, and I used it probably 3 or 4 times. I mean, it was just not the same thing when I've had my family have had iPads all for a long time, and I've just been using iPads for a long time also as iPhones. So I could just tell you, there's really no comparison. So people know when they get an iPad, they're getting something that actually is going to be a faster processor, a slightly bigger, better screen, a smarter keyboard connector, better cameras, so more speakers. So the biggest competition for the $329 iPad actually is the iPad Pro. And actually, that's kind of just what I just read to you, that slightly bigger screen and better. The iPad Pro, when they first came out with that, was what I want to get. If I ever want to get a new tablet, or if I was thinking of getting back in the old laptop market, I'm not going to go there. I'm going to get an iPad Pro and get a wireless keyboard connector. Or connection for it over Bluetooth, because I mean, you can just have it sitting on your table and hold your Bluetooth laptop or hold your Bluetooth keyboard in your lap and just type. It's not that problem. You can even probably get a wireless mouse for it, or have your little pencil and just point at the screen. So the iPad Pro, they're dropping that price point for that too. It's going to be actually just reading that's interesting. It's going to be $649 for that iPad Pro. That's pretty good, because usually when they first came out, they're the really big ones. They were like the 12.7-inch screen is almost as big as the first I had. My first MacBook Air I got was a 13-inch screen. So I mean, that's about the same thing. It's very, very close. So it's almost like having my computer screen in my hand, and then you could decide if you want to use the keyboard or not whenever you need it. But yeah, they're dropping that price to $649 for the iPad Pro. That, like I said, those bigger, better screen, faster processor, more RAM for running multiple apps, smarter keyboard, better cameras, more speakers. That's for the iPad Pro. That's the extra $300 that'll buy you that. It used to be it would be more almost like an extra $500, because you can buy a regular iPad for $450 or $500, and then the iPad Pro was $1,000 or maybe even $1,200, depending on how much storage you wanted in that Pro. So I mean, the fact that they've dropped these prices now made it more affordable for people to just buy at the home. Also more affordable for schools to buy in a bundle to equip their classrooms more efficiently. So imagine that. I mean, you have a regular classroom instead of with a bunch of hunky computers where these students are, let's go to the computer lab, and have to just walk everybody down to the computer lab and have to sit there, do whatever you're going to do. Nope, you just whip out you sit in your same classroom, you're in the same learning space you've been in the whole day, and you just whip out these iPads that you have, hopefully in a secure area. But I mean, all these iPads they're slim, they fit together, and they can, in a small area. So, I mean, they can be much more efficient in a classroom and education space in the elementary school, middle school, and even the high school levels, where you're going to have kids being able to create and effectively process their learning information and then be able to present it on a higher scale. So they did do the absolute bare minimum with this iPad. It was supposed to be more support for schools without raising the price. That's what they're saying here on this article. And schools will be happier with the price cut on at least last year's model of an all new one, especially since iPads pretty much require a rugged case for students and as many cases a keyboard. So I mean, yes, that's the one thing with Apple, is that you do have to buy everything separately. I guess for schools, maybe they're going to be just lowering the price for everything so they could bundle it better for them. But that's what you're seeing here. That's what I've kind of been talking about the whole time, is the fact that this is an education-based thing. They're trying to get their technology out into the schools, into the younger market, which is very smart from Apple's point of view. Imagine if you are a middle schooler and you've been using an iPad your whole life to learn and to create your projects and to create your learning base. And now when you get into your older level and you're getting into college and you're getting into the workforce, what are you going to use? You're not going to use this Windows or whatever Samsung tablet that you've never used before. You're going to use the thing that you've used your whole life. You're going to use that tablet. So the iPad tablet. So you got to give Apple some credit here. Definitely Steve or Mr. Cook, the CEO now, have definitely taken a step in the right direction with this whole thing. And everybody loves a price cut. Everybody loves when the prices things become more affordable. And they didn't really I didn't really think they needed to make much more advances regarding the tech inside the tablets. They already have some of the best tech in the world regarding tablets, and they have had it for a long time. And they keep making new ones and better ones. So seeing the fact that they lower that price and getting something that's more affordable for the education-based groups out there and for the kids, it's really good to see. All right, that's going to wrap it up for this segment. Next segment, we're going to talk about Tesla and Uber, the fact that they are trying to get out their driverless cars. We've been talking about driverless cars, or we've seen people talking about driverless cars for what seems like years now. And it's definitely something that's going to be still on the verge of happening. I don't know how it's going to work regarding traffic and everything, but they're having some issues of it right now. So we're going to talk about some of the stuff that I think that they need to do in order to right this wrong, fix their issues, and then also talking about what the specific issues were. And that'll be coming up right about next. Thanks.
The average sedan is built with a steel frame and equipped with 6 airbags. Remember this the next time you see someone walking. Drivers, be aware. Pedestrians don't have armor. A message from the California Office of Traffic Safety.
Welcome back to the GSMC Technology Podcast. Last segment, we talked about Apple and its new iPads, or whether they're new, but the same kind of models they've had before. They're just lowering the price point, lowering that pencil price point to try and go after the education market, trying to get those schools to start bundling those iPads to get into the hands of students, which I think is a good idea because, get those kids while they're young, Apple. Why not? Why not get them that good technology that you've been creating for the last few years and make it readily available for them basically for free in a public school? So why not do that? That's a pretty darn good idea when it comes to the technology world and Apple. So in this segment, we're going to get into something that isn't as fun and fancy free as iPads for kids, but definitely something that needs to be talked about. It is that thing we've been trying to get at for a long time. They told us it was going to happen in those old sci-fi movies. We're going to have cars that drive themselves. We're going to get on little trains that go along throughout the years, hover trains and stuff like that. And it hasn't happened yet, and there just keeps becoming hiccups. You have to give these companies like Tesla and Uber a little bit, I wouldn't call it a pass, but they're the only companies doing this. They're really the only companies that are out in the forefront doing this. Obviously, we saw Google with their cars, but they haven't really tried to get it out to the consumer model yet. They've been just using it for their own research purposes regarding driverless cars. But there's definitely been some hiccups regarding that. So just some news to report regarding a tech company and its surprise project, other than obviously, that's not Tesla, but that's Elon Musk and the SpaceX project, but that's something completely different. We can talk about that on another show. But regarding Tesla and their cars, they did have an issue. Something went down at the end of last month. Tesla has said that a car that crashed in California last week, killing its driver, was being operated on autopilot. So Tesla did have a self-driving car with a human. There was a human in board in the car. It struck a center divider on Highway 101 in Mountain View. It did kill the passenger that was inside. I believe they were in the driver's seat, but the car was on autopilot. There has been some federal investigations. The National Safety Traffic and Transportation Board, NTSB, did come out and say that the driver had about 5 seconds and 150 meters of unobstructed view of the concrete divider, but the vehicle logs showed that no action was taken. Whether that is showing that there was some ill-advised trust in the car, that it would maybe correct itself, or the fact that the passenger in there did just was being negligent in the fact that they could have saved. I mean, I don't want to say save their own life, but I mean, it begs the question, what is going on in there, whether they're putting too much faith in this car, or they just were not really paying attention to what's going on when they're sitting in a car that's driving itself on a busy highway in the Bay Area. This isn't the first time that a driverless car has resulted in the death of a human death. We had it a few months ago in January. A woman was struck by a driverless Uber in Arizona, and she was her life was taken, unfortunately, by that crash. And that was the first time a driverless car has ever taken the life of a human being. Now we have another one regarding Tesla and their car. So something definitely to be advised of. There's definitely some things that these companies need to take care of regarding when it comes to their driverless cars. I mean, it's really interesting. Technology could lead to a lot more safety regarding drunk driving and stuff like that, where we have people who could just push a button and be taken home. But I don't understand when it comes to Uber. They already have kind of thought about a good solvent for that problem. We have their just ride sharing, where you have people who are using their own cars to pick people up and take them home. So, and I kind of like that because it doesn't clog up parking lots. Because if you have people with all these self-driving cars, what are the cars going to do? Drive themselves around while people are out and about having dinner or in a bar or something like that? When you're taking in an Uber, you get dropped off, the car goes, does some more rides, and then who knows, you might even get the same person coming to pick you up, but likely not. You're going to get somebody else within the next 5 minutes once you're ready to go home. So these self-driving cars, I think it's going to be kind of a fad scenario. It's kind of a pipe dream that, yes, we were promised something like this from those tech movies that we saw in the past, but it's definitely something to be aware of and to be cautious of, because we've seen in almost a matter of months, in 2 months, 3 months, we've had 2 deaths, one from Uber and one from Tesla, where they both were involved. So obviously Tesla has come out and saying that the autopilot does not prevent all accidents, but does make them less likely, because I've seen there is definitely a algorithm out there where there was one day, I doubt in my lifetime, honestly, but one day in the future that where we have all driverless cars, they're saying it's gonna eliminate the need for traffic lights. Everything's gonna move freely, and we're gonna have cars whizzing by each other but they'll never touch because of the predetermined paths and the algorithms and everything that involved. So, but it looks like there's definitely some kinks to work out, because they can't avoid a stationary wall on a freeway. This is interesting, and it's hard to talk about almost, because obviously there was a loss of life involved. But yeah, Tesla, of course, comes out and says there's about 1.25 automotive deaths in the world. If current safety level of Tesla vehicle were to be applied, it would mean that 900,000 lives would be saved per year. I mean, this is true. I do understand, like I was talking about before, but the whole idea of driverless cars and the fact that it's going to help deter people from driving drunk and resulting in some accidents with where the driver was impaired due to substances. So I can understand where they're coming from. I'm always going to be the advocate of Uber. People take and Lyft. Take your Ubers, take your Lyfts, get home safely. But on this technology podcast, it's interesting to talk about when you have such amazing technology as a driverless car and these amazing Tesla cars now. Not only are they self-driving, but they are fully electric cars with those batteries underneath the car. I don't know how safe they are because, I mean, looking at pictures of this Tesla that crashed into the center divider there on 101, I probably have been on that highway right there. But it looked like it definitely caught on fire. There's extinguisher fluid all over the ground. The interior of the car is decidedly black. So, I mean, whether the passenger who was in the car passed away on impact or was trapped in the car and consumed by the fumes, by the flames, it's not something you want to think about too much. But definitely have to understand the fact that there is a higher order and a higher goal here from Tesla and Uber and stuff like that regarding the companies like that regarding the self-driving, and the fact that in the long run it can lead to less deaths on our roadways. The company added that it cares deeply for and it feels indebted to those who chose to put their trust in this. However, we must also care about people now and in the future whose lives may be saved as they know the autopilot improves safety. It is true, but every time we read a story like this, it's just a kind of a step in the wrong direction for these companies, especially a company like Tesla, which is probably probably the fastest growing car company I've ever seen. I mean, we've had the big crash of the car industry back when we had our issues in 08 and 07, but then we have the Elon Musk and his ambition and his company come out of the ashes and kind of revolutionize the car industry. I mean, being from the Bay Area myself and going down there and seeing that their big plants and the big all their charging ports everywhere, you can see that they're trying to revolutionize the automotive industry with their technology and with their ability to put cars make cars more efficient and make cars making them have less negative effects on the environment regarding when it comes to gas, of course. So I'm trying to say there, the electric cars definitely are our future. And I think that there's probably something to focus there. Focus on electric cars. Focus on the fact that we need to limit our carbon footprint. Focus on the technology that's going to save the trees and save our environment. And then maybe when you can get around to perfecting this autopilot, they need to do something like that, because I can see what they're talking about. Yes, I would love to sit in a car and have it drive me home, even if I'm even if I haven't had a few drinks. I mean, just to be honest, it sounds pretty cool, but you definitely want to be safe, and having somebody, a software engineer, who was willing to sit in the car, and whether he was somebody who could have intervened and saved his own life or something like that, or thought the car was going to save him, it doesn't matter. It sounds like it was a pretty devastating thing to happen to this company, and not to mention what happened in Arizona earlier when the self-driving car, a Volvo SUV, had been tested by Uber and killed a pedestrian there crossing the sidewalk. I mean, there also has been video released from the police department down there, maybe asking the question that the pedestrian wasn't crossing the road safely, where it wasn't the autopilot's fault in that situation as well. Whether this is going to hurt the stock of the companies, but I mean, any kind of death involved, when you see a company name and a death or their project there. I mean, when it comes to Uber, Uber's self-driving project was decidedly underground. Tesla was very much different. They were coming out and saying, yes, we're trying to make driverless cars, we're trying to do this, we're trying to do that, and Uber was just more like, no, we're gonna go and do this kind of underground thing, as obviously they're trying to still push the idea that they're going to hire these people to drive their own cars around versus already trying to push them out of their jobs that they kind of just gave them. I mean, imagine that if you're an Uber driver that you're driving for Uber. Uber hires you because they pay you. Obviously, we pay Uber as the passengers, the people who order the Ubers on our phones, and then Uber pays those drivers with a percentage of our payments. So, if you're Uber, you're going to try and eliminate those payouts to those drivers by making your own cars to drive themselves, so you can have a 100% profit or 100% payment from those people who you drive around without having to have that percentage taken out to pay the drivers. I mean, that's interesting how they just kind of flip the switch on that one. They're going from, oh, we're going to give people a secondary income if you have free time, if you have another car. Oh, here's another idea for you to make some cash. To, oh, nope, we're going to have this technology take over and push you out. I mean, this kind of backhanded. I mean, this is interesting. Now we're seeing the governor of Arizona was courted by Uber and welcomed the company's the governor of Arizona now coming out and saying that the Uber courted him, and he welcomed the controversial self-driving plans with open arms because it would bring money into his state. Obviously, they're going to have to build some serious plants and some serious testing facilities in his state. So he was now saying that he's denying that it was a secret, but I can only imagine that it was because of the fact that they are decidedly putting people in situations where they're going to be either out of a job or going to be pushed out by driverless cars. However, I don't think they're really in that much danger right now. This is a long way off. We're still having issues. We're having people being killed by these cars. It's just something that we need to take slow and take at a very easy pace. No need to rush into the self-driving car world quite yet. We're just fine driving our own cars. To a certain point, obviously, when you read those Tesla numbers with the whole 1.5 million deaths, it begs the question of, yes, we need these as soon as possible. But it's just going to be interesting seeing how these self-driver cars are going to evolve and integrate into the market of the car industry, because there are a lot of cars out there, and a lot of them are driven, or most all of them are driven by a person. So getting those self-driverless cars and getting the driver cars to either to work together or to have the whole overhaul is going to be interesting to see how those companies decide to do that, and how the Tesla and Uber are going to decide to talk with the actual car makers that aren't Tesla. I mean, Tesla's the only company that produces its own vehicles. Uber has been tampering. I believe the car they used for their project was in a Volvo. So it's going to be interesting to see how they're going to make plans to partner either with other companies, other car companies around the world, or just take the Uber track or take the Tesla track, and maybe, I don't see Uber making their own cars, but or just go with that. And the fact that Tesla is going to have to be the only car on the road with a self-driverless car because they made it from the ground up, versus just tampering with the different car and changing the functions in a car that was made to be driven by a person. All right, so that's going to do it for this segment. A little somber segment, but got to report this news regarding the self-driver cars. Big technology advancement coming out and being talked about a lot in this day and age. So I'll be coming right back with a more overview of the technology day. We're going to go through the IPO of Spotify, a big deal there, and some more tech news. So stay with us, and we'll be right back.
The average SUV has 2 blind spots, weighs between 4,000 and 6,000 pounds, and takes about 6 seconds to stop. Remember this the next time you're on foot. Pay attention, people. Pedestrians don't have armor. A message from the California Office of Traffic Safety.
Welcome back to the Technology Podcast here on the GSMC Podcast Network. This podcast is brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I didn't mention that at the beginning, but all the podcasts here are brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. Be sure to listen to the marketing news podcast when that comes around your neighborhood pretty soon here. That'll be hosted by yours truly. I am Tom Doherty here for the last segment of this technology news podcast. We went over already the Amazon Go stores, this new technology of ways to buy food and buy products without a cashier, where you're just going to go and scan things with your phone, or cameras are going to see you pull it out and put it in your carts and be able to track your purchases that way. And then you just walk out the door and it charges to your card on file. Also went over the lower price point of the iPads and Apple Pencils that are going to be marketed and geared towards education and for students in schools, which is an interesting and pretty clever marketing tool or technological advancement from Apple. The fact that they're going to make things more cheap, but also trying to get those kids to get on the Apple train early and forever. So you got to give them credit there. Now, we're going to go through Spotify and its IPO. Spotify obviously trying to revolutionize the music industry. We had Apple Music kind of try and copycat them when it comes to streaming off the internet this music and being able to get it. I mean, I know I use Spotify. I'm a Spotify premium user, and using music to just kind of pay for it. I'm paying for music over the month. I mean, monthly payments versus buying individual songs on iTunes or something like that. I remember there were some songs that either were 99 cents, $1.99. I mean, you could have bought 20 songs, you're spending $20 versus on Spotify, I could listen to 20 new songs in a day and still only pay the $11.99 or whatever it is a month to stream my music, and it's also very good quality. The only problem with Spotify is that some of those artists out there weren't quite as happy with how their model works and how they were being paid from this Spotify, and their royalties were not as juicy as they were with iTunes or even with CDs and stuff like that. But we had some stuff. People like, I know that Beyonce did not put her Lemonade album on there. We had Jay-Z has had his stuff kind of pulled off as periodically, and then I know Taylor Swift definitely had the biggest and most public battle with Spotify, and the fact that her stuff wasn't on there. Her stuff wasn't on there for a long time until finally she actually did decide to put it on just recently, I believe last year. So looking over there, now they're going to be going public. Spotify has definitely gained a big enough following, big enough fact that they're going to be becoming a new public offering to the stock market here as big tech stock. You're going to be at the SPOT is going to be their trading symbol, and looks like their reference price is going to be set at $132 a share, with a company valuation at $23.5 billion. And for a music streaming app, that's pretty nice. I mean, when your big competition is the giant in Apple, and then the fact that you were already, well, there was Beats Music, but that was obviously acquired when Apple bought the Beats Entertainment from Jimmy Iovine and Dr. Dre a couple years ago for a lot of money. But no, Spotify looking like it's going to be the world's largest music streaming service. Made its debut on the stock exchange this morning. Like I said, $132 a share. The reference price, the company at $23.5 billion. It was on target. Reported when shares were traded at private markets. So they had they get a little sneak peek in those private markets. It was about the same price point as it was on the public market. So you're going to get the last valuation. Look at that. Last valuation was at $8.4 billion when it raised a financing round of $400 million back in 2005. So that's a pretty nice jump, almost tripling right there within a couple of years. So Spotify definitely, whether it's getting up in those ads or it's optimizing your music with increased technology, which you already see before. I mean, the whole idea of that Genius Music with Apple did it to trying to optimize playlists. Now that was kind of limited because you had to own the music. But now with Spotify, when you have their premium service, you have access to all of their entire library, which is, I mean, millions of songs, it seems, and they can optimize a playlist for you whenever. I mean, there was a story out there a couple of weeks ago. I saw that there was an Uber driver, I believe in New York City or in Chicago, where he had like 11 different playlists optimized for whoever got in his car. A little crossover there, Uber and Spotify. But no, he had Spotify playlist that was named for he would just one look kind of sum up the person who got in his car and play the music that they probably would like. He had a playlist for each one of them, and he had like 12 different playlists. And it was pretty funny the way that kind of went viral on social media. And the fact that, I mean, there was a lot of people who were subscribing to his playlist because they were pretty spot on. I took a look at them myself because it's pretty funny. So regarding Spotify and the fact that they are going to be going public, which is a big deal because on when it comes to tech stocks, you have the two big ones in Apple and Google. Obviously, Amazon's up there too. We're going to take a look at them now. I know that there was a little bit of a I was hearing this morning on the tech stock podcast or tech stock radio show. There was that 2017 was what they call a Goldilocks year because it was pretty much steady growth all year, not much volatility. I mean, we had some bumps in the road, but that wasn't until the end of the year. But we get into 2018, and we're seeing a little more dips and dives, and then obviously some corrections regarding the stock market in there as well. So Spotify is going to be interesting to see how they fare throughout their first few weeks of being a publicly traded company right now. So I'm going to look at the Apple stock. Apple's sitting at 166. I mean, when you look at Apple and you see 166 a share, that's just because they've split about 500 times. So just times that by like 15 at least, because they split their stocks all the time. Versus a company like Google, who does not split their stocks. There's two trains of thought there regarding those two big tech giants, and the fact that Google's stock is at $1,008 a share. And I mean, that's been going up and down over the last few months. So, I mean, when it comes to Google, you got to decide whether you're going to spend a lot of money on one share and hope they just take off again with a new thing, or they're going to kind of sit what they want. I mean, then obviously looking at Amazon. Amazon is at $13.81 a share. Another company that doesn't seem to split as often. And you see Apple is a little more friendly to that basic mom and pop kind of, basic consumer trader. When you're going through tech stocks here, Apple's sitting at, like I said, 16666. So an interesting number there. We'll see if that changes. They definitely like to make it more affordable for their stock to be bought and sold by even my parents who own Apple stock and have for a long time. So then that's regarding those big tech stocks that I just wanted to go over really quick here on the technology podcast, the GSMC podcast for technology. And the fact that they're going to get a little buddy coming and joining them. I would call him a little buddy because I wouldn't say Spotify isn't as big as those companies up there, but they're definitely getting there when it comes to the music world, and the fact that they're actually starting to get some of these bigger names back on board because I believe they're becoming more solvent. Either people are paying for the premium. I have to see what the numbers and the differences between what kind of revenues they can make for the premium show, premium subscribers paying that $11 a month versus people who don't use premium and are just basically listening to the ads and see how much they make over the ads. So it's interesting to see the disparity. I can only imagine they make more with the people paying directly to them and versus having to go through those ad companies that put up those pretty crummy ads that nobody really wants to listen to every 3 or 4 songs. So they might as well just pay the $11 because actually it's completely worth it. And coming from somebody like me who listens to the music a lot and listens to it on most of my drives, and they have not only music, they have comedy on there and all that kind of stuff. So gotta be happy to see that Spotify is publicly being traded. I can only see it probably, it's going to be interesting. I don't see it just skyrocketing to begin with. It's pretty much found its groove right now regarding what kind of money it can make you if you're looking if somebody like you are looking to buy a few shares of Spotify. I think it's going to be kind of sitting where it is for now. If there is another big advancement, if they make maybe a partnership with a car company or a specific speaker company that really comes with it or something like that, we're going to see a big user increase and a big volatile spike in purchasing. That I wouldn't really see it much growing up that much unless you're going to see a big user increase in people shifting over from Apple Music, because that's the one thing they do have a big competitor when it comes to music streaming and that whole subscription service to music. That's definitely the big giants in Apple. So that's the Spotify IPO. Interesting enough that they did go through a lot of money in order to do that. They had to raise about $500 million to get up to the point where you need to get public. But it is nice to see that there is a company like that is trying to battle with Apple, and they're trying to get their big boy pants on now in order to get on that NASDAQ in the New York Stock Exchange, and to be able to be taken for real. I mean, taken for real, not maybe be pushed around so much by those pesky entertainment divas who just want their money. All right, so that's going to wrap it up for this segment. Let's go over what we talked about today on this technology podcast. We did go over the Apple's lowering the price of the iPad, making it more affordable and more approachable for schools to purchase in bundles with the pencil for education purposes. We talked about the Amazon Go stores and the fact that they're going to revolutionize the retail market, and if the fact that it's probably going to make a big ripple effect regarding jobs and retail, cashiers and whatnot. And then I also talked about Tesla and Uber and their issues regarding the self-driver cars, and gave you my thoughts on the need for self-driving cars and the definite hiccups that they've had within the recent months. So that's going to wrap it up for today's podcast. This is the first technology podcast I've hosted. It's been a great time talking to you guys about technology. I'll be back on Thursday for another episode. And until then, have a good time.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Technology Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network, from movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.